A crazy experiment opens the door to time travel. Back to the Future takes audiences on an unforgettable journey where the past and future collide. One small mistake can change everything. But more than 40 years later, what happened to the cast? Let's find out. Number 1. Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly. Back then in the summer of 1984, amid the bustling pace of Hollywood, a 23-year-old young man with a youthful face but eyes burning with passion stepped into the role that would change his life forever. Marty McFly. At that time, Michael J. Fox had just risen to fame thanks to the television series Family Ties, and because of his packed filming schedule, he barely had time to sleep when he agreed to join Back to the Future, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Fox filmed television during the day, then rushed straight to movie sets at night, living in a state of near exhaustion. Yet that chaotic energy became the very soul of Marty McFly. In the film, Marty is not just an ordinary high school student in 1985, but also an ambitious musician who dreams of escaping a dull life and a disappointing family. When his eccentric friend, Doc Brown, activates the DeLorean time machine, Marty is accidentally sent back to 1955, where everything begins to turn dangerous. Step by step on his journey, Marty must face time paradoxes. He accidentally causes his own mother, Lorraine, to fall in love with him, while his father, George, is too shy to win her heart. The scenes of Marty playing guitar at the school dance, trying to fix history, or the moment he stands amid lightning to harness 21 gigawatts of electricity, all created an irreplaceable cinematic icon. This role stands out not only because of the intelligent script, but also because of how Fox infused Marty with a blend of rebellion, humor, and vulnerability. An imperfect yet deeply human hero. But behind the bright lights, Michael J. Fox's life took an unexpected turn. In 1991, at the age of 29, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a neurodegenerative condition that gradually interrupted his acting career. Instead of collapsing, Fox turned tragedy into purpose, becoming one of the most prominent advocates for research and awareness of the disease through the Michael J. Fox Foundation. His marriage to Tracy Pollan, his co-star from Family Ties, has remained strong for decades, a rare bright spot in turbulent Hollywood. As of 2026, Michael J. Fox is 64 years old, born June 9, 1961, has not yet had his birthday in 2026, so still 64, and although he no longer appears frequently on screen, the image of Marty McFly lives on as a symbol of youth daring and the belief that if you dare to change, the future will change with you. And perhaps in some timeline, Marty is still accelerating, while Michael J. Fox is still fighting, not to return to the past, but to hold on to the present. Number 2, Christopher Lloyd as Emmett Doc Brown. Back then in 1985, when the DeLorean time machine first roared through the night, no one could have imagined that the wild-haired man with frantic eyes and a trembling voice would become one of the greatest mad scientists in cinematic history. Christopher Lloyd was 46 at the time, born October 22, 1938, had not yet reached his birthday in 1985, so still 46, much older than his co-star Michael J. Fox, yet that contrast created a perfect duo. Before that, Lloyd was known for his role as Jim Ignatowski in Taxi, but Doc Brown was the role that made him legendary. In the film, Doc is not just an eccentric scientist, but someone who dares to challenge the laws of the universe. From stealing plutonium from Libyan terrorists to power the time machine to the moment he is shot in a parking lot, all of it triggers the chain of events that sends Marty back to 1955. There, the younger version of Doc becomes the only person capable of helping Marty return to the future, but only if they can recreate a lightning strike with 1.21 gigawatts of energy. The scenes of Doc shouting "Great Scott," his exaggerated gestures, his wide eyes as if about to explode. Lloyd transformed a potentially ridiculous character into one both humorous and admirable. The peak is the clock tower sequence where Doc hangs in a storm to connect cables while Marty must accelerate at the exact moment, a breathtaking scene that became cinematic history. This role stands out for its perfect blend of intellect and madness, science and emotion, making Doc Brown not just a supporting character but the second soul of the film. But in real life, Christopher Lloyd's life carries a very different tone. He has gone through 5 marriages, a turbulent romantic journey rare even in Hollywood. Though free from major scandals, the solitude in his personal life has always intrigued many. After Back to the Future, Lloyd continued acting with many notable roles, especially Uncle Fester in The Addams Family, but none surpassed the shadow of Doc Brown. As of March 2026, he is 87 years old since he has not yet reached his birthday on October 22, 2026, and still occasionally appears at events interacting with fans. His hair no longer as wildly standing, but his playful eyes remain. Looking back, Doc Brown was not only the inventor of the time machine, but also proof that madness is sometimes the first step toward genius. And Christopher Lloyd, the man who brought Doc to life, seems to still live in his own timeline forever, the scientist shouting into a stormy sky, chasing lightning, chasing the impossible. Number 3. Lea Thompson as Lorraine Baines McFly. Back then, amid the enchanting recreation of 1955 streets, a teenage girl with dreamy eyes, yet quiet rebellion entered the story. Lorraine Baines, brought to life by Lea Thompson, who was then only 24 years old. Born May 31st, 1961, had not yet reached her birthday in 1985, so around 23 to 24 depending on filming time, but 24 at release. Unlike typical female characters of the time, Lorraine is not just the protagonist's mother, she is the center of the time paradox that makes the entire story dangerous. In the original 1985 timeline, Lorraine is an unhappy woman, an alcoholic constantly complaining about her life and marriage to George McFly. But when Marty travels back to 1955, he meets the younger version of his mother, a curious, somewhat rebellious girl attracted to what is improper. And then the unthinkable happens. Lorraine falls in love with Marty, her future son. The scenes of Lorraine gazing at Marty with fascination from the moment she hits him with a car and brings him home to calling him Calvin Klein after seeing the name on his underwear. All are both humorous and tense. The peak is the enchantment under the sea dance where Lorraine initially goes with Marty but must ultimately be guided back to George. The car scene when Biff attacks Lorraine and George finally stands up to defend her not only marks George's turning point but also the moment Lorraine finds true love. This role stands out because Lea Thompson portrayed two completely contrasting versions of the same person, a vibrant young Lorraine and a weary, disillusioned adult Lorraine. The transformation lies not just in appearance, but in her eyes, voice, and interactions. In real life, Lea Thompson's life has been far more stable than her characters. After the film's success, she continued acting and later moved into directing, especially in television series. She married director Howard Deutsch, whom she met on the set of Some Kind of Wonderful, and their marriage has lasted decades, rare in Hollywood. Though free from major scandals, she has spoken about the pressure of being typecast as Lorraine, forcing her to work hard to break away from the role's shadow. As of March 2026, she is 64 years old, has not yet reached her birthday on May 31st. 2026 still active in entertainment as a director and occasionally appearing publicly. Looking back, Lorraine Baines is not just a link in time travel, she proves that a single choice in the past can change an entire life. And Lea Thompson, with her depth and subtlety, made us believe that behind every ordinary mother was once a young girl with dreams that never faded. Number 4, Crispin Glover as George McFly. Not a hero, not a villain, the scenes, but someone so weak that even fate seems ready to abandon him. George McFly enters Back to the Future as a joke, but leaves as a miracle. In 1985, when the film premiered, Crispin Glover was only 21 years old. Born April 20th, 1964, had not yet reached his birthday by July 1985, so still 21, bringing a strange, almost offbeat energy to the role. And that made George unforgettable. In the original 1985 timeline, George is the embodiment of failure, working under his old bully Biff, disrespected by his wife and nearly voiceless in his own family. But in 1955, Marty meets his teenage father, a nerdy, timid boy, too afraid to stand up for himself. From the moment George is hit by Lorraine's car instead of Marty, shifting the entire timeline, everything begins to unravel. Marty realizes that unless he helps his parents fall in love, he will cease to exist. Thus begins a journey to restore destiny. The scenes of George practicing how to talk to Lorraine, his repeated failures, or his trembling entrance at the dance, all portrayed with painfully real awkwardness by Crispin Glover. But the character's peak is not in weakness, but in explosion when Biff attacks Lorraine. George finally stands up and delivers the decisive punch. That punch not only changes George's fate, but rewrites the entire McFly family's future. After that moment, George becomes confident and successful as a science fiction writer, the complete opposite of his former self. This role stands out as the clearest transformation in the film from invisible to self-determined. In real life, Crispin Glover is one of Hollywood's most unconventional figures. After the first film, he refused to return for part 2 due to salary and image rights disputes, leading producers to use a stand-in and effects to recreate George, sparking controversy and a legal case that changed industry practices. Glover is known for eccentric behavior, sometimes appearing on talk shows in ways that bewilder audiences. Yet that uniqueness allowed him to maintain an independent career, choosing artistic projects. As of March 2026, he is 61 years old, has not yet reached his birthday on April 20th, 2026, still active in film, often in artistic projects. Looking back, George McFly is not the strongest but the bravest, because he overcame his own fear. And Crispin Glover proved that sometimes, those who are out of sync create the biggest changes in time. Number 5. Thomas F. Wilson as Biff Tannen. Some people do not need guns or power. Just a mocking smile and a punch are enough to make an entire town bow, and Biff Tannen is that nightmare. In 1985, Thomas F. Wilson was 26, born April 15th. 1959 had not yet reached his birthday by July 1985, so still 26, portraying one of cinema's most memorable bullies. In 1985, Biff is George McFly's boss and lifelong tormentor, rude, lazy, manipulative. In 1955, Marty witnesses his origin in aggressive high school bully. Scenes of Biff forcing George to do homework, humiliating him, chasing Marty, all show a character without moral limits. The peak is the car scene at the dance when Biff attacks Lorraine, turning the film tense. Here, George delivers the decisive punch, reversing power entirely. Biff becomes subservient in the new 1985 timeline. Wilson made Biff both hateful and captivating. In real life, Wilson is the opposite, humorous kind, even a stand-up comedian who jokes about Biff, despite no scandals being typecast, limited his career. As of March 2026, he is 66, not yet reached April 15th, 2026, still active in acting and comedy. Biff represents the destructive nature of misused power. And Wilson proves that sometimes the greatest villains are played by the kindest people. Number 6. Claudia Wells as Jennifer Parker. No time travel needed. Just a gentle look and a handwritten "I love you" is enough to be unforgettable. Jennifer Parker is the quiet but essential piece of Marty's world. In 1985, Claudia Wells was 19, born July 5th, 1966, had not yet reached her birthday, so still 19, bringing a pure 80s youthfulness. Jennifer appears briefly, but always in key moments. She encourages Marty's musical dreams despite others' doubts. The flyer and "I love you" note becomes a symbolic thread across time. Jennifer represents the emotional anchor, the present Marty must return to. Though not part of the adventure, she gives it meaning. Wells portrayed Jennifer with subtle warmth. In real life, she left acting to care for her ill mother, stepping away from Hollywood. Her role was replaced in sequels. She later returned to smaller roles and runs a boutique in California. As of March 2026, she is 59, not yet reached July 5th, 2026. Jennifer is not the one who changes time, but the reason Marty fights, and Wells proves that sometimes, quiet choices are the strongest. Number 7. James Tolkan as Principal Gerald Strickland. There are people who do not need to change with time, because they are the embodiment of unchanging discipline. And Gerald Strickland is the lingering nightmare across both timelines of the McFly family. In 1985, when Back to the Future was released, James Tolkan was 54 years old, born June 20th, 1931, had not yet reached his birthday at the time of the film's July 1985 release, so still 54, carrying a stern face and a sharp voice enough to make any student freeze. In the film, Strickland is not just a strict principal. He is a symbol of judgment, someone who sees failure even before it happens. In 1985, he constantly calls Marty a slacker, a useless person repeating the same way he treated Marty's father 30 years earlier. And when Marty travels back to 1955, he realizes a cold truth: the Strickland of the past is no different. The same eyes, the same voice, the same contempt. Scenes where he scolds George McFly for having no future, or when he warns Marty under the name Calvin Klein not to cause trouble at school, all show that Strickland is not a villain but a system. an invisible force that weighs heavily on weak individuals like George. But that very thing highlights the journeys of other characters. When George changes his destiny, when Marty proves his worth, Strickland's judgments become wrong, and that is the quiet victory. This role stands out because James Tolkan created a character that seems simple but has a powerful psychological impact on the entire story. He does not need to shout or overact, just a look, a single word slacker is enough to be unforgettable. In real life, James Tolkan is a veteran actor with a career spanning decades, often playing police officers, military men, or authority figures in films of the 80s and 90s. Unlike many co-stars, he has stayed almost entirely free of scandals or major drama, living a relatively private and stable life. However, that very stability has made him less talked about, even though Strickland has become an essential part of Back to the Future. As of March 2026, James Tolkan is 94 years old, has not yet reached his birthday on June 20th, 2026, becoming one of the oldest surviving members of the main cast. He rarely appears in public, but the image of the strict principal with sunglasses and a commanding voice still lives on in the audience's memory. Looking back, Gerald Strickland is not the one who changes the future. He is the one who always believes the future cannot be changed. And because of that, every time Marty or George overcomes his judgment, it is not just a personal victory, but a declaration that destiny is not determined by those who constantly call you a slacker. From the 88 miles per hour acceleration to moments that change destiny, Back to the Future. 1985 is not just a film, but an emotional journey across time. They, the people behind the characters, each took different paths, but all left an irreplaceable mark on cinematic history. And perhaps somewhere in the endless timeline, we are still waiting for Marty to come back one more time.